T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
Yes. If it was a boxing match, they would have stopped it. Alabama puts up ridiculous video game numbers, clobbering Ohio State 52-24 in college football's championship game. Nick Saban says it might be his best team ever, winning 11 SEC games. Heisman Trophy winner Devontae Smith puts on a clinic. Running back Najee Harris and quarterback Mac Jones have record-setting years. So, gentlemen, where do the superlatives end with this Alabama Crimson Tide football team?
I don't think they end. I think they will place a truckload more players into the NFL. My only concern with Smith is, he's fast as all get out, but he is small for the NFL. I don't want to see him, crossing in the middle in the NFL. Somebody will clock him. But that game proved once and for all that Nick Saban is the best college football coach ever. And they played a full season. What was it, 13-0?
Yep.
And you could tell those boys from Ohio State, they had no clue. It was kind of sad. So, Big 10, Big 12, you still ain't got nothing compared to the SEC. That's my note.
I guess my only retort to this is, in terms of conference rah is, and even with Alabama, yes, Alabama's the best team, but really it comes down to Saban. If Saban went anywhere, he would turn them into this juggernaut. Or as long as it's a high level Power 5 team, he could turn them into a juggernaut. It's not to take away from Alabama. It's all Saban. What Devontae Smith did in the first half just shows you why he won the Heisman. He had 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. And again, I don't know how fast he is, but he's one of those guys. He's a long strider. When you watch him, he doesn't look like he's moving that fast. But then you see people just falling away from him as he just separates. Najee Harris, showed early on that they were not afraid of Ohio State. On 4th and 1, they did not even blink. They just gave it to Najee, and he powered it in to give him the first 7 points.
I got it, right.
Yeah. And then he shows how dynamic he is. One of his other touchdowns, that one throw when the linebacker blitzed, Mac Jones hit him on a hot read, and then you saw not just Najee Harris' soft hands and catching that little lob pass, but then how he weaved through guys for like another 15 yards for a receiving touchdown. They were just so talented. Again, Saban moved out of the shadow of Bear Bryant, winning his 7th touch. Devontae Smith had the best receiving year for an Alabama, and Najee Harris scored the most touchdowns by a running back for Alabama, which you think of the history of that position,
right?
It's pretty stupendous. So,
well, I agree with you guys completely on Saban. Here's what I got to say. Look at him. He adapted his game. Back in the day, he'd have 5 yards in a cloud of dust and have running backs. Then the game changes. It's a passing game. So he goes out and gets stud quarterbacks and gets guys like Devontae Smith to win the Heisman Trophy from the wide receiver position, which hasn't been done in forever.
I think it's Desmond Howard.
Yeah, he changes, and he adapted the game. It's not like he sticks in the mud and says, this is what we're going to do. We're just going to run the football. No, he's pretty amazing. You're right. He stepped out of the shadow. He is the shadow, man. He's the guy.
The only downside that I see to them is Sarkisian is leaving, and the last rumor I saw was Adam Gase was coming in to take over.
Oh boy!
I don't know. Adam Gase as a head coach hasn't really worked out. He's had success as a offensive coordinator, and that's the gift that keeps on giving for Saban. There's always going to be talented coordinators who failed as head coaches that are willing to try to resuscitate their career. Charlie Strong's there right now. Charlie Strong won a championship.
You go, Charlie. You go, Charlie.
So yeah, I'm just saying, like, like he has all these guys that know if they go there, they resuscitate their name. But again, like, they bring talent to Saban. It's not just it's not just a parasitic relationship. Saban gets very talented coaches that are willing to give them their ability, and from that, they hopefully get another head coaching job. So,
and Lugs, to just kind of bring this to a point about Adam Gase, if it is okay, I'm gonna throw this at you. When Jay Cutler had his best year with the Bears, his OC was Adam Gase. So we'll throw that in and chalk that one up.
Okay. But the best years with the Bears, that's sort of an oxymoron, isn't it?
It's an oxy anyway. OxyClean, I think. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. Well, anyway, go ahead.
What? That's about all I've got to say about that game. The Super Weekend was the coolest thing. I think NFL again knocks one out of the park to mix metaphors, because I mean, even the games that weren't really of my interest that I saw, they went down to the wire. I mean, except for New Orleans and the Bears, of course. But I mean, that Buffalo game, the Colts were in that game. I got to say again, they were rivered out of it. So, anyway, for me, it was a great weekend of football.
I will give you this. Philip Rivers played well throughout the game. I mean, he threw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. But to be fair to Lug's point, that last drive, they had 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock to drive to either kick a field goal or to score a touchdown to win. And I think they got to – I don't know if they got across the halfway point. I mean, because Colts have done such a good job of staying balanced on offense. Jonathan Taylor played well. He had 78 yards rushing and a TD, and Nyheim Hines had 75 yards rushing. But when the team is put plainly on Philip Rivers at this point of his career, I don't think he can make that. I don't think he can do it anymore.
When the chips are down, I agree. Yep, he can't.
Yeah.
Nope.
And again, it's like the last week of the season with Tua, and I know Philip Rivers and Tua are at different stages. Josh Allen just puts a spotlight on the other quarterbacks, and just like they're not even playing the same game at this point. I mean, Josh Allen's first touchdown just shows you how special he is. He's running with the ball tucked, and there's like 4 defensive people swarming him, and he very quickly curls it out of his hand and just does an alley oop to Dawson Knox in the back edge of the end zone. And his running backs played okay, but then that got to a point where Josh Allen's like, fine, I'm just going to run the ball. He runs the second touchdown in, and then his third touchdown, it's his special simpatico with Stephon Diggs, hits Stephon Diggs on a 35-yard go route. And I'm just showing he showed the full the full abilities that he has, and just it's not fair to Philip Rivers because he's the end of his career. It's not fair to Tua because he's young, and also he's never going to have the talent level with Josh Allen. But
nope.
It just shows you it's not even fair when you have a quarterback of that for the other team. So
yeah, Josh Allen's arm, he and Justin Herbert. I mean, those are a couple of arms that you only see once every generation or so. I mean, goodness, that Josh Allen, that pass to Stephon Diggs was just there.
And that's the league's future. That's the future, which you got to love.
And I think if you even go back and kind of see, I don't even think I'm not going to say it was great, but even the coverage of Diggs wasn't that bad.
No.
DB was like a step behind, or slightly a half step behind, but it wasn't like a wide open Diggs. I mean,
and what I took away from the weekend too was you have young quarterbacks that have the snap to do things that veteran quarterbacks, at least like, can't do. And specifically would be Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Yeah. In their games, they made the absolute difference. And Lamar had that amazing run. He doesn't run, quite as often as he used to, and he can pass better. And that whole thing of, we're going to clog the middle and make Lamar go to the outside. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I got this, coach. Yeah, I mean, the guy has rushing, passes, high yardage in both. And he got if a 24-year-old can have a monkey on his back because he couldn't win a playoff game, well, the monkey's off his back. He looked great, man. Looked great.
Yeah.
Specifically about this game that was so fascinating is obviously the Ravens were the toast of the town last year.
Yep.
And then the Titans came in and essentially stole their lunch. And if you look at some of the offseason acquisitions they made, they added Calais Campbell, defensive lineman. They added Derek Wolfe, defensive lineman. They added a bunch of bulk because they essentially made it a point that they were not going to be beaten down again. They are the bully. And that's what happened in this game. I mean, they held Henry to 40 yards rushing.
40 yards. Explain that to me. 40 yards.
And I believe it was on 18 carries. So, they did not – they were going to be and again, Tannehill has been good these last 2 years. He's proven that he's not last year was not an illusion. He is a good quarterback.
Yep.
But their Ravens defense got healthy on the back stretch of this season because Calais Campbell did miss the regular season game where Derrick Henry did go off, and that is a big loss for the Ravens. But he was back for this game. And then even though A.J. Brown was able to bully Humphries down for that first touchdown, they put the clamps on A.J. Brown for the most part. I don't know what happened to Corey Davis. Corey Davis obviously got injured or something. So once you take away A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry, he doesn't have Tannehill doesn't have anywhere reliable to go to. And Lamar didn't have his best day passing, but again, the main thing is he got Marquise Brown going. Marquise Brown got 100 yards receiving, and hopefully they'll continue to develop their rapport. And just also, I know he can't run forever, but I think he'll keep developing as a quarterback. But at this point of his development, he still needs to run a lot. He had that huge 48 yards for the touchdown that tied it. And then after that, they were rolling, and Titans never really got into it again.
Yeah. I tell you, the other game that was interesting for me was the Pittsburgh game. Just that whole right off the bat, that snap that went over Roethlisberger's head. And think about that. You know, he's like 6'6", 6'7". That's got to be it. And Pouncey and he have played together for 10 years at least. It reminded me of that Super Bowl with Peyton Manning where they snapped it over his head. And after that, they never regained it. Plus, they just so many mistakes. But I got to say, your boy that I badmouthed, Baker Mayfield, I have.
When did he become my boy? He's not my boy. Is he your boy? Whose boy? What boy?
Anyway,
go ahead.
He showed up. I got to say he matured. I was impressed with just the way he handled everything. They set it up nice. And even though Stefanski wasn't there, you could tell Stefanski he was there somehow. I mean, he had to be talking to them in the headsets and stuff.
Yeah. Cell phone, we have those now. But you got to love the Browns. You got to love them. Come on. This is exciting, man.
It is. Yeah. It is funny that as much as we joke on Mason Rudolph, he actually played them tighter than Ben Roethlisberger. But, this game's easy to sum up. I mean, Steelers just couldn't protect the ball. They turned the ball over 5 times. Yeah. And of those turnovers, Cleveland scored 24 points off of them. And, they won by 11 points. So, I mean, that was the big difference. Roethlisberger just was sloppy. I mean, he was just sloppy. I mean, those 3 early INTs got them down quickly to 28-0. And, and it's like we kind of talked about it all year. Like, they were